Hi, in this episode of the podcast, I am answering more of your questions that you submitted to me on the gram. So today we're going to be covering how to create online offers that you're actually excited about, how to transition you to your own business when you're used to a typical standard 9 to 5 job, how to handle business as a new mom, and we're going to be diving into a couple more questions around manifesting. So this is going to be an extremely valuable episode, no matter what season of business that you are in. Enjoy. Welcome to All In with Allie, the podcast for online business owners and entrepreneurs who are ready to create the life and business of their dreams. I am so happy you are here. How are you doing? As I record this, it is finally the end of January. January is the longest month ever, is it not? I mean, it just feels like this is like week 7 of January. But we've made it. And so far, so good. I feel like I'm feeling good about 2024. I hope you're feeling the same. I personally am feeling some positive momentum. And there's a lot of things that's coming up that I'm really excited about. I've gotten a spark of creativity back. And I mean, if you can't tell, if you're in my world and you follow me on Instagram, we've launched a few different things. So that usually will tell you where I'm at creatively. So I feel really, really good about that. I'm in a good space with content creation and just all around in business. And I'm so thankful because what I've found as an entrepreneur, when you're doing this for years and years and years, there's seasons to these things, right? There's seasons where you feel really connected and excited and in love with your business. And then there's other seasons where you're just kind of going through the motions, and we've got to address that. We get to address that, and we get to clean it up as fast as we want to. And it's helpful to know how to do that. Maybe I should do an episode. I mean, we talked a lot about this in the last episode. I think it was titled, it came out January 29th. And it was titled, If You're Feeling Blah in Your Business, Do This, or something like that. And we talk about this, right? Like, it's really helpful to know how to address these things instead of just continuing with it, because it doesn't have to continue for a long time. I think it's normal for sure. But if you're noticing that you're feeling disconnected or bored or just not as excited about your business as maybe you typically are, there are ways to fix it. And it's your job to look at that and to dive into it and ask yourself the really valuable question of, why am I feeling this way? It's just like any relationship, and that's one of the examples that I brought up in the last episode. It's like if you're married or, you're in a long-term relationship, it's not going to be the honeymoon phase all the time. But if you're going through a rough patch, instead of just saying, well, this is just how it is now, you're going to address it. And it needs to be the same in our business. And I feel like personally, at least where I'm at, we're turning a really positive corner. And I feel really good and I feel really connected with the work that I'm doing and what's coming up. So I pray that you are feeling the same. And if you're not, my love, and you are listening to this the week that this podcast goes live, please come to Reinvention. Reinvention is my next class, or even if you're listening to this later on, get the recording. You can always get the recording in my world. But come to class. It's called Reinvention. The tagline is, she's you, but brand new. And this is how we zhuzh it up, right? If you're feeling like your business needs a facelift. And what we're going to be talking about in Reinvention surpasses business. It's going to have a business focus for sure, but this can be applied to any area of your life. Like, you're the leader of the business, right? You're the star of the show. So you show up in many more areas other than business. So this is going to affect many other areas, but this is the facelift we're looking for. This is what we're going to do. Like if you, and what I talked about in the last episode, and then we'll move on to the questions, is oftentimes we feel the disconnect because we've outgrown whatever it is that we're doing in that area of life, right? When you're feeling disconnected in a partnership with your partner, it's often because there's a mismatch of alignment. One of you is outgrowing the other, or or whatever you guys are doing, it's just not working anymore. We need to reinvent the relationship. We need to reinvent what it is that you're doing so that we can have fun again, so that we can get to the good part again. And this is especially true in our business. So please, if you're in that season or you just feel like you're ready for something new, you feel like a reinvention sounds sexy and exciting for you, and you're ready to call in new levels. Maybe where you're at is really great right now, but you're like, no, when you get the feeling of like, I'm ready for a quantum leap now, I'm ready for an up level now, reinvention. I got you. So we'll put all the details in the show notes. No matter when you're listening, you can get at least the recording, or you can be there live with me, and you can get that two ways, either on its own or through the LFG membership. Okay. I'm so excited about that class. It makes me so happy. Okay. Let's get to these questions, shall we? So these are questions that I got from y'all a couple of weeks ago. And I only answered one, which I'll refer to that episode in just a minute, because somebody asked a question that I'm going to have you go back and listen to that particular episode. But I went really deep into one. And then these were the other questions that were added, and they were all really good. So I wanted to, of course, bring them here and answer them, because this makes my job so much easier. So thank you for all that submitted these questions. So the first one that we're going to dive into is how to create an offer that you are excited about. Okay. So this is really any business that has the ability to create your own offers. You have that creative freedom. But I'm, of course, going to be talking about this through the context of online business too. But this could definitely apply to really any kind of business. Again, if you have the creative freedom to create your own offers. So the very first thing that I recommend that you do, if you're like, okay, I'm ready to create some sort of new way for people to work with me, but I want to feel excited about it. And I love that you asked it in that way. I love that you said, instead of saying how to create an offer or how to create an offer that's going to make a ton of money, you said, how do I create an offer that I'm excited about? And that is the work. Because if you are excited about this offer, you're going to want to talk about it. You're going to have fun selling it. You're going to be excited to fulfill it and to do it whenever the time comes. And you're really going to show up and probably do some of your best work when it's time to give this offer, whether it's a program or it's a service or whatever the thing is. It's when we're just trying to create an offer, or maybe an offer like somebody else, or an offer to make money, that we don't really funnel it through the lens of that I'm also excited about, that we sometimes make the mistake of making something that we're not excited about at all. And therefore there's that disconnect of energy, and oftentimes it won't sell in the way that it could if we had the excitement and the energy behind it. So the very first thing that I recommend that you do is to create an offer map. Okay. What is an offer map? An offer map is where you're going to put a big old circle on a piece of paper. And in that circle, you're going to write your current mission statement, whatever it is. Okay. And this is just for you. But what is the vibe of what you're doing in your business? What do you want to be known for? What do you help people with? So for me, my mission is I help women create online businesses and lives that they're obsessed with, essentially. Okay. So that's what I do, but there's a lot of different ways that I support you in doing that. Hence the map. Okay. We're going to map out from this. So we're going to start with that middle section. What is your current mission and way that you support people, in your own words? And then we're going to map out from that how you support people in doing that. Okay. So oftentimes there's multiple ways. So for me, how I help women create online businesses and lives that they're obsessed with is, first, we have the business portion, right? So we have, if you're creating an online business, we have to have the offers. So that's one way I help you create offers. In order to sell the offers, we have to know how to market them. So that's another way. Okay. So I'd be putting like on the map, I put offers, marketing, launching, social media. What about growing a team? That's another way. You need support. What about, the life piece, delegating in the life outside of the team? That's another way. What about your most important relationships in and outside of business? That's very important. If you're creating a life and business that you're obsessed with, you have your relationships probably on lock in some way. Okay. That's another way that I can support you. So you're going to be doing the same way, and you're going to be thinking of every single thing. Another thing that you can do that might be helpful, and another way to think about this is think of like a step by step. Okay. So if you help women manage anxiety in multiple ways, maybe you start with the steps on how you do that. That also could be an offer map as well. Okay. So like step one would be getting clear on the type of anxiety this person has, or even pinpointing, do you or do you not have anxiety? And then the type of anxiety, and then maybe the severity of anxiety. And then how do you manage anxiety in the workspace? How do you handle anxiety in a marriage? How do you handle anxiety as a parent? Is anxiety curable? Can you cure anxiety? Should you take medicine or should you do something else? See what I'm doing here? There's lots of different steps. If you could see the video, I'm like, my hands are everywhere, but that's what we want to do. So that's what I recommend, because what this is going to do is this is a crap ton of offer ideas in front of you, right? Because let's go to the anxiety example. You can go to this and you can create an offer on any one of these steps, right? You can create an offer on do you have anxiety or not, or what type of anxiety you have. How do you manage anxiety in this particular way, in that particular way? How do you cure anxiety? These are all offers, whether it be a freebie or a high ticket thing or a low ticket thing or whatever. So there's your ideas right there. And all of those ideas can be broken up and even more into more offers. Any idea that you have can be any type of offer, which is really, really cool. So take one thing that you put on that map. That could be a freebie. That could be a low ticket offer. That could be a mastermind. That could be maybe even a membership. That could be a one-on-one offer. That could be a retreat. You can take any idea and make it into a myriad of things, which is really neat. So I don't say that to overwhelm you. I say that for you to see, okay, there's always going to be opportunities and new ways to bring in money and new clients and new energy into your business, because look at all these ideas that you have. I have my offer map that I still use to this day. I've taught on it many, many times. If you've taken any program with me around how to create or how to launch something, you've seen me do this offer map and take you through it. And I still refer to it to this day, and I'm still adding on to it. Like I think of new things all the time. Like, ooh, I'm doing this really well. This is something that I can teach. I'm nailing this. So I could totally create an offer around this. So it's going to grow and evolve as you do as well, which we love. So the first step is going to be your offer map. The next step is you're going to look at that and you're going to say, okay, what problem do I want to solve next? And how I think about this is I think about this in two ways. I think, which one of these have I done really well or am currently doing really well? Okay. So there's parts of my offer map that I know one day I will absolutely teach on, but not yet, because I know that I haven't nailed it. So we want to have extreme integrity whenever we're looking at these, because there's no reason not to. You have plenty of other things that you're already nailing that you could preach on and teach on and create offers around all day without having to dip into an area that you haven't nailed yet. So I funnel it through the lens of what am I nailing or have I nailed that I know that I can bring my own approach to this and teach it well. And what feels fun to teach and to offer now. So there are seasons, for example, where I love talking about social media. I'm nailing social media. I'm excited to talk about ways to make your stories magnetic and ways to get more engagement and ways to get more clicks on your links. And all of that feels really fun. So that might be a really fun time for me to relaunch stories that sell or killer content that sells. But then there are other seasons where I don't want to talk about social media. I'd much rather talk about the creation of offers or energy or literally any other thing. So again, I just fully trust where I'm at right now, because next month that preference could change. So then I would launch something else. So to be excited, we want to make sure that we ask ourselves that powerful question. What am I nailing right? Powerful questions. What am I nailing right now? And what do I actually want to talk about? And then here's where we want to be smart business owners and leaders of our companies. How much money do we want and need to make right now? So to keep our business afloat, to live the type of life and lifestyle that we want, what's the money? What's the money goal for this particular launch? So often I will feel into that before I decide what it is that I'm launching, because that sometimes will dictate, is this going to be a higher ticket offer or a lower ticket offer? Or is this going to be this type of offer or that type of offer? Because there are times where I can get really excited about selling a ton of low ticket things and still have an incredible launch. There are other times where that feels more daunting, and I'd much rather sell maybe a few spots of something higher ticket. It just fully depends on my mood at the time. But I always know what's the goal here. To as a business, stay afloat, pay bills, pay my team, and then to pay myself so that I can do the things that I want to do on this planet. So what's the monetary goal? And then finally, we bring it all together on how we want to make that happen. Okay. So we now know the area of focus that you want for this offer. We now know the monetary goal. Now you get to decide the type of offer that you want to create. So when I say that, I mean, do you want this to be maybe something that you record one time and you sell it evergreen or pre-recorded to whoever wants it? Or is this something that you're going to teach live, and there's a live element and a live component that will also depend on what's required for you to get the level of transformation that you want to give to people? So there are times where I know that I want something to be more hands-on, because that's going to give the best transformation. So like whenever I created Money Vibes, it used to just be Vibes, and now we've rebranded it to Money Vibes. But the first few times I did it, it started as a one-on-one offer, and then we shifted it to a close proximity group program, kind of like a mini mind, because there was so much personalization that went into that program, because I'm literally walking you through how to create your own offers and how to market them and how to create branding and how to sell them and mindset and everything. So I wanted it to be more hands-on so I could support through all of the steps. It was such an involved program in the best way. So I made sure that it was somewhere between like 5 and 8 weeks. And there was hot seat coaching included, and there was private calls that was included. So the price reflected that level of proximity. It was a higher ticket offer because of that. And then eventually we had done that so many times, and I felt really good about the training itself. And there was such a request for people that wanted just the training that then we eventually decided, okay, now we're going to take this recording and we're just going to sell it as the training. So you can buy it and you can go at your own pace and do it on your own. And then that felt really good. So there's lots of questions that you want to ask yourself, which I have covered here. But the big thing here that we want to always come back to is what is going to excite you, what feels really good. So this is where comparison can sometimes bite you in the butt, because if you're looking at somebody else and you're seeing the type of offers that they're creating and you're like, they only do master classes that lead to like big, intense multi-week programs. So that's what I should do. But you don't have to. You literally, this is where you have to remember you can literally do and sell whatever it is that you want. So if you don't want to do the masterclass to program model, don't do it, because if you're not excited about it, it's probably not going to sell, or it certainly won't sell as well as it could. So I actually have a freebie and we'll link it, and it's called the offer cheat sheet, I think, something like that. And I actually map out all the different types of offers, right? Like masterminds, mini minds, one-to-one, everything. I map it out for you. And I give you like a couple of different exercises and things to help you like create your own offers around this. But this is just a really good resource to have, because you need to know what type of offers that you can work with, right? Like if you only think, oh, I have to make a program, because you forget, no, you could do like a close proximity mastermind for 3 months, or you could do a smaller micromind for 3 weeks, like literally the online world is your oyster. So I'll link the freebie in this. Go get that, because you can always refer to it. And what I recommend is just picking one that feels really exciting based on your schedule, based on your bandwidth, based on the price that you want to offer it, and so on. And before you know it, you're going to have the perfect recipe that feels really good for you. So all of these things, think of them like ingredients, right? The price, the overall revenue goal is an ingredient. The problem you're solving is an ingredient. The level of proximity is an ingredient. The type of offer, the amount of weeks, like all these things, we just need to pick as you pick. Just make it be, or let it be the most fun thing for you. It feels really good for you. And then you're going to put it all together and boom, you have the exciting offer. And then you need to go out and sell it. Okay. So I'll link that freebie for you. If you would like a program that walks you through all of that, plus how to actually like put it together, name it, price it, and then actually like launch it, what to do to launch it, I have a program called How to Create and Launch an Offer in a Day, which is pretty gangster. And this is one of my favorite things to do, because I feel like we can overthink these things. You don't have to launch it in a day, but also I feel like definitely know we can rethink or overthink these things. So I'll link that for you too, if you'd like to see it. And that, how to create and launch an offer in a day, is actually included in the LFG membership. You get instant access to it when you join, pretty much as a bonus. So you can consider that if you want to. Moving on to our next question: how to transition to your own business when you are so conditioned to work at a stable 9-to-5 job. This is a biggie. I know a lot of people can relate to this. And I really want you to listen to this too, even if it's been a minute since you've had and I'm going to say, instead of stable, I'm going to say conventional, because our businesses get to be stable too, obviously. And maybe you're not there yet, but I want you to shift from stable to conventional. So even if it's been a while since you've had the quote unquote conventional traditional job, listen to this, because you would be shocked. You would be shocked some of the mind warfare that can happen when you're still transitioning to your business, and some of the things that can really affect you, especially when it comes to your mindset as you move forward in growing your business. So again, the big thing here is I want to shift from the idea of stable to conventional. That's a really distinct shift, because if you continue to say to yourself, I left my stable 9-to-5 for this business, you're essentially saying for this unstable business. And maybe it is unstable right now, but we want to be kind to our businesses, right? This is like a baby that you're growing. So we would never look at a tiny infant and say, well, I have this older kid who's smart and capable, and then I have this baby that's dumb and incapable of doing anything. It's like, wait, I get what you're like. You're not exactly wrong, but also it's baby, like we wouldn't put that energy on our babies. We get it. So like our businesses are the same. And the more it's like a plant, it's like a human. The more that you love it and have grace with it and stick beside it, it's going to grow and it's going to flourish. Versus, again, if we make this weird comparison in our mind of like stable and unstable, then there's just like there's a unnecessary negative connotation there. So we're going to go conventional to unconventional. What I love about this is because that's exactly what it is. Okay. And what I have found is, first, you need to prepare your mind and heart for the difference between conventional and unconventional. So what I mean by that is conventional is quote unquote normal, right? It's what most people do, which is fine, but it doesn't mean that it's right for everybody. And it certainly doesn't mean it's not the only option, which is why you started your own business. Conventional in that sense, in the way that we're thinking, the conventional 9 to 5. Another thing that this is that your own business currently isn't, but can be later on, is it's predictable. You know the hours that you're going to work. You know the scope of work that you're going to be doing. You pretty much can predict what's going to happen on a day-to-day basis and who you're going to speak to and what you need to do in order to get by. And usually you certainly can predict the amount of money that you're going to be making, however often you get paid in this business. With our own businesses, we are giving that up, okay? At least for a time being. Now, as you grow, you get to create a level of predictability, obviously. You get to create a level of cushion and a level of recurring revenue and different streams of revenue that create a level of predictability. So we are giving that up, at least in the short term, compared to the conventional job. But what we are gaining with the unconventional is the unpredictability. Okay? So it's predictable in your 9 to 5 because there's a ceiling. There's a cap to pretty much everything that you do. Again, the amount of time that you work, the scope of work, and the amount that you can make. And in the unconventional business, you're going to be probably wearing a lot of hats. It's going to look different many different days, depending on what it is that you're doing. But there's no cap. There's literally no limit to what you can create in your own business, no matter what that business is. Give me any example. There's no limit. There is a way, no matter what, to blow the roof off whatever you even thought was possible. And then some, times 2, times a million. So you got to prepare your mind and heart for that. There are some people who only want predictable. They only want the conventional. It means nothing about them. It's just their desire. That's what they want. They want to be able to go to work and know what to expect and know what to do and be able to shut it down at the exact time pretty much every single day and then go and do the unpredictable and the fun and the exciting in their lives and it be like this separate thing. But they know what to expect in the job. And because of that, they're willing to accept a cap on what it is that they can create in terms of life and the money that they're calling in. And that's great. And then there are other people, the sick bastards like you and me. We don't want that, right? Like we get it. We see the appeal. And some days we're like, oh, wouldn't it be nice if I could just shut it down and not think about this until Monday? Meanwhile, it's the only thing we're thinking about because we're entrepreneurs, because it's in our blood. Okay. So we've got to be able to handle a level of unpredictability if we want unconventional results. So that's number one. It's a very distinct shift in your mindset and your energy. Because if you go into owning your own business and looking for predictability, especially in the beginning, you're going to have a hard time. It ain't there. And there's a reason why. But if you can handle that and you can hold that, then you will be able to be one of the ones who can create the unconventional results that blows everybody's mind, including your own. So prepare your mind and heart for that. and practice holding it. And what that looks like is on the days where you are stressed because you don't know when that next dollar is going to come, and you're stressed because your partner is wanting to have money conversations with you or budgeting conversations, and you're like, I literally don't know when the next dollar is going to come and how many of them are going to come in this month. How are we supposed to have this conversation? You're stressing me out, right? So this is also a good conversation to have with your partner, spoken by somebody who has done this many, many times. So just own that. Be kind to yourself. And as these things come up, just remind yourself, okay, this does not feel stable. This does not feel predictable because it's not supposed to. And that's okay. That's what I'm signing up for. Can I handle it? Yes or no? And be honest with yourself. Some people cannot handle it. Other people can. It's just, you got to remind yourself of this. Next thing, as much as you can, it really will serve you to focus on the good. So there's plus and minus sides. There's positive and negative sides to every situation. Okay. So to your conventional stable job, there's a lot of perks. There's the predictability. There's the, a level of benefits to that. There's a ton of support. You're not obsessed with it, so you don't need to obsess over it. There's a lot of good things there. And then there's also the con list to that, which means maybe you have to commute in, maybe you're doing work that you don't love. You desire a type of lifestyle that you wouldn't be able to achieve with the level of money that you're making in that business, right? There's plenty of cons. And then same with owning your own business. We could go on and on with the pros and cons as we've already touched on. So what some people tend to do, and this is a big mistake, is they get hyper focused on the cons. They get hyper focused, especially in the building phase or in the ebb seasons, right? As an entrepreneur, it's not just an upward trajectory onward forever. It's an ebb and flow, just like anything. So in the ebb seasons or in the beginning, in the building seasons, it can be easy sometimes to focus on all of the hard and the things that are going wrong without taking a beat to say, and this is what I signed up for. And yes, like money isn't flowing in the way that I want to, but I get to work from home and I get to be with my kids, or I'm finally doing work that I love. Nobody's buying it yet, but I believe that they will. And it's only a matter of time. And then I'll be paid for work that I actually love. Right. So being able to use a good filter on your experience in the down and the hard seasons is an absolute game changer. That Delulu mentality, And then the last thing I would say for you is to treat it like your job. This seems like a no-brainer, but I've had clients where and I for sure did this too. Like when I started working from home, and you're like, oh my God, I can work anytime, anywhere, however much, however little. And then you're like, I haven't worked at all this week. Oops. And sometimes that's okay. And other times we need to be real with ourselves. Okay. What are my current results? And if I'm wanting more, am I doing what's required to get the more? Am I treating this like my job? Right? So part of your job as an online business is marketing. So if you're avoiding social media and you're telling yourself the story that you're bad at social media and you don't want to do it, and you do everything else under the sun in your business, but you never market yourself, and then you scratch your head wondering why you're not getting sales. Well, baby, let me tell you, because marketing is your job. As an online business, that is literally how people are going to find you and want to buy from you. So that's your job description now. So either do it or hire it out, but it's got to be done. So treat it like your job. Get clear on what is your job description now, right? Like what's required for you to support people in your business and to get the clients and the level of awareness that you need to create the level of money that you want. That's your new job description. Do it every single day. Otherwise, you get fired and you go back to your other more conventional job. Next question is how to navigate loneliness as an entrepreneur. Who can relate to this? I feel like everybody listening is shaking their head and maybe one sole sad little tear is seeping from your eye right now. We get this. We all get this. So I feel like the most obvious answer here is we simply need to get in groups of like-minded people. Okay. So that's part of it. I'm going to give you some examples. And I do think that this is something that you get used to for sure. And it totally depends on your personal experience. But if you're somebody like, our friend who just shared the last question or asked the last question, how do you transition from, a traditional 9 to 5 to your own business? If you are recently transitioning to from a job to solopreneur life, that's a big transition, right? When you're used to going into an office with a lot of different personalities, or even if you did work from home, you were probably communicating with multiple people. And on top of that, maybe your partner or your friends all can relate to you and your job woes and what it is that you do, because they also probably have traditional 9 to 5 situations. You don't feel alone. And then you transition to your own thing. And next thing you know, it's like, wait, I feel like I'm in an island and I'm the only one here. And that feeling is so real. And in my experience, you really do get used to it for sure. So I would just say, first and foremost, just know that you will acclimate you will. And that's not to say like you're going to be sad forever and you're going to get used to that. You're just going to get acclimated to this new normal for yourself. And back to my first point, there are so many opportunities and situations that will allow you to get in groups of like-minded people. The online business space, the entrepreneur space is growing by the millisecond. Like this is the thing to do, especially in the past couple of years. Like everybody and their mom wants to own a business, which is amazing. So you have so many different options in terms of connecting with like-minded people. And I genuinely, with my heart and soul, could not recommend it more. I couldn't. I will tell you, the times that I feel like I have performed the best in my business and have created the best and the most. And let me just say it this way. I feel like the times that I've been the most on top of my game in my business is because I was connected to some sort of group of people that inspired me, where I felt like I wasn't the only one on this island. Because when you get on this, when you feel that feeling that you're by yourself out there, then the mind can play some tricks on you. And sometimes you lack the inspiration and things can get a little stale. But when you're around people who get it, who are, I feel like when I say getting around like-minded people, there are free communities for sure. And that's one of the examples that I would give you, right? There's a Facebook group times a million of free communities of people. And that's good. But we also want to think, and I also want to get you around people who are playing at the level that you want to play at. I would love to get you in people or in groups of people who are a little bit ahead of you, or maybe even a lot ahead of you in some cases. Because when you can consistently be around people who are doing the thing that you want and who are doing it well, and you're witnessing their tenacity and you're witnessing and maybe even hearing some of the challenges that they're going through and that they're feeling feelings just like you are, but they're just playing a little bit at a different level. For me, it normalized so many things that I put on a pedestal. It brought so many things down to earth that I thought was so far out of my reach. Whenever I got around people who were playing a bigger game, who are playing at the level. And when I say playing at the level, like they have the type of businesses that I'm currently creating. They're earning at the level, they're living the type of lifestyle, right? All the things that like why I want to do this and the things that I want to create in my own business and life, they're already doing it in their own way. So to me, it's invaluable, absolutely invaluable. And I'm not one of these people who thinks that you need to constantly be like in a mastermind or constantly need a coach. I think there's definitely seasons for sure. And you just need to have your own discernment for it. But it is helpful. It really, really is. So there are co-working spaces. There was a while where I've been a part of a couple co-working spaces in Nashville because I just wanted to get out of the house. This was after COVID. And we were just all so cooped up. And I was like, I need to get out of here. I need to be around other people, but especially business owners. And there's a really cool co-working space in Nashville that I joined, Collective 615, and loved it. Loved it. It was so cool. It was so vibey. And it just felt like, okay, these are my people, right? We get each other. We all have different businesses, but we get what it is that we do and why, and probably some of the challenges that we're facing. And a lot of these co-working spaces, they'll have mixers that you can join. Ours had like an online community and online, it had a way to like if you needed a photographer, you could search through some of the members to find a photographer. Or if you were looking for somebody who did social media marketing, they put you in different categories, which I thought was really cool. That would allow you to search and connect with people that you are wanting to collaborate with. So I thought that was really, really neat. And that might be something that you look for as well. So I think a co-working space is such a great way to get around like-minded people. Again, there are a billion online communities, many of which that are free, but I would just be mindful of getting in the right one for you. And then if you're looking for something maybe a bit more valuable, hands-on, intentional, then I would consider some sort of mastermind or hiring a coach or getting in some sort of group coaching situation with like-minded people. When I joined Melanie's mastermind in the beginning of 2022, it changed everything for me because in my mind, when I think of people that are making, millions of dollars a year and charging a certain amount and who have a level of authority and notoriety in their respective industry, in my mind, I was thinking that they were so different than me because I wasn't doing that yet. In my mind, I was thinking they don't get upset like I get upset. They don't get frustrated in the way that I probably get frustrated, right? It's sometimes you can have it in your head that like they have it all figured out and they're superhuman and, we do this, or at least I did for sure. And then I got in this group and these women are slaying the game, but like are so emotional in a lot of cases, deal with all the things that I'm dealing with, oftentimes more, right? Because when you're playing a bigger game, you're dealing with a lot of, plenty of challenges across the board. But it just it made me feel, I didn't feel as separate. I didn't feel as far away. It's like we are so similar. You've just been doing this a little bit longer. You've just figured out, you're just more of a match for this than I am. Right. And it gives you this healthy, for me, it gave me this very healthy perspective on what I was wanting to do by getting in closer proximity with women who were already doing it. Also, when you get in these groups, and this is why I'm such a huge proponent for long-term mentorship and long-term masterminds, because you're building real relationships. And what do you do with real relationships? You get together, right? If you're in the same city as one another, you get to connect, you get to collaborate, you get to be on each other's podcasts, you get to really ask them deep personal questions because you feel comfortable with each other. You get to the root of the good stuff. But more than anything, that level, any kind of proximity like that, especially in a group setting where you can really connect and you can hear other people's questions and concerns, and when they're having a bad day and all the things that we deal with, when you can hear somebody else and you can see that you're not this weirdo that's different than anybody else. We're all so similar. They just have figured out a little something that you haven't, or they've been doing it a little bit longer. And that was a game changer for me. So like-minded people, there's a reason why that cliche saying of the 5 people you hang around the most is often what you're going to create, because you're going to be influenced by the people that you hang around the most. If you're around people who simply have conventional jobs and who are happy living the conventional life, making the conventional level of money and all those things, then as you try and continue to forge forward on your own path. And the more that you feel scared and the more that you feel alone, you're not going to have anybody to lean on. And you're just going to feel like the odd man out because you're around people who are happy doing the conventional thing. So you're much more likely in that scenario, unless you have a solid mindset, you're much more likely to maybe slow yourself down or talk yourself out of wanting the things that you want because you feel weird for wanting them because nobody else around you does. But when you're in groups of people who all want to make insane levels of money, who all want to drive the gorgeous car and have the gorgeous relationship and travel the world and live the type of lifestyle that you want, you don't feel weird or selfish or awkward or like it's not possible for you because that's what everybody else is doing. And the more that it becomes normalized, the more, in my opinion, and the faster you can become a match for it. So please, please, please get around like-minded people. However you decide to do that, do it. It'll be one of the best things that you do for yourself. Okay, 2 more questions. The next one, how to handle business as a new mom. Grace, 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 times infinity. Grace. Okay. Whew. Trust and believe. I think as a new mom, especially somebody, if you are a creative, if you've been doing, if you've been an entrepreneur for a minute, you're used to going. You're used to maybe being a high achiever, a high performer, and then you become a mom, which is the ultimate creation, which is the ultimate achievement as far as your body is concerned, creating another human life. But what's so sick is because it's not attached to something monetary, it doesn't equal the same thing in our minds, right? Even though you just created a life and your body is a miracle and you have this miracle that you get to take care of now and figure out your new normal, because it's not directly making you money, it feels like you're not being productive. It feels like you're not as good or as powerful as you were, when it could not be more of the opposite. You are so much more powerful. Not saying you have to have kids, but I'm saying like what you just did was the epitome of power, the epitome of manifestation, the epitome of creation. So reconnect to that truth. Look at yourself and remember how badass you are for what you just did. Like, are you kidding? Women are insane. Okay, so there's that. Next thing, we have to remember that this is just a season. And I remember being a first-time mom. It's like going on a road trip to a place you've never been to before. Have you noticed that when you're driving to a brand new place, the drive there feels so much longer than the drive home? Have you ever experienced that? It's like when you're driving somewhere new for the first time, it's like, oh my God, especially if it's a trek, right? If it's like maybe in another state or another city, it's like, gosh, this is taking forever because it's all new. And you don't know how long you're going to be on this highway. You don't know how many turns you have to take to get to this part of the destination. And then that part, you don't know what the traffic's going to look like or what you're going to run into. But then whenever you turn around to go home, you know what that looks like. You know how long you're going to be on the interstate. You know, like the back of your hand, the path, once you get off the interstate to your home, you probably know about what the traffic's going to look like. So it seems a lot shorter. That is motherhood the first time. The first time you're a mom, you have, and by the way, all kids are different. So even the second time or the third time, you don't know how long seasons are going to last, but especially the first time you're a mom, oh my gosh, you're like, wait, how long are you telling me I'm going to be changing diapers because it's been 3 days and it already feels like a lifetime? And you're saying that we're going to be doing this for 3 years? Like, absolutely not. You know what I'm saying? It just feels so, the unknown is the unknown. It feels scary. It feels daunting. So take a step back and just remind yourself that this is a season. You will get through this, but it's going to feel a lot longer and it's going to be a lot more powerful, painful, the more that you resist what is taking place in your life. That's just a fact. The more that you resist getting crappy night's sleep because your baby is waking up at all hours, or the more that you resist not being able to have your normal, typical schedule because you just created a human, or the more that you resist not feeling your best because you're freaking exhausted because you just created a human, it's just compounding the difficulty that you're already feeling. It's unnecessary. So my advice to you is grace. This is just a season, and surrender, really. And it's so easy to give that. It's so easy to give that advice as somebody who found it very difficult to take it, because I love being a mom. I loved being pregnant, but like having a baby and managing a business and a baby it's a whole ass thing. But in hindsight, it really goes by so fast. Genuinely. In hindsight, it's like, okay, we survived and it really wasn't that bad. But if you would ask me in the mix of it, like, hey, how's it going? I'd be like, this is the worst thing I've ever done. I will never do this again. Yeah, you will. I mean, I won't personally, but I did it twice, you know? So grace, and get support if you can. What kind of support can you give yourself? Like what would it look like if you needed to get back into business, or you wanted to get back in business? How can you support yourself in that transition? So for us, this looked like bringing on nannies. And that's one of the best things that we invest our money in, because my work is very important to me. It's what I love. It's what keeps me going, right? It's my outlet. I would die if I didn't have this business. Truly, I truly feel like that. What I do is so, it's just who I am as a person, and I'm a mom, right? So it's important for me to also have proximity to my kids and be able to be with my kids when they need me, and take time off whenever I want to, right? And to have that level of flexibility. Hence why we have nannies for each of the boys in the way that we do, and why we brought them in at the time that we did, so that I could have support in transitioning back to work and supporting my clients and getting back to the podcast and the things that keep me feeling human and like me. So what does that look like for you? Maybe it doesn't look like nannies, or full-time nannies. Maybe it looks like a part-time situation. Maybe it looks like having a family member come over a couple of hours a day, a couple of hours a week, so you can do some things. Maybe it looks like having somebody come and support you with the laundry, or ordering meal services, or anything, trading off with your partner, you know? So support is going to be key. And then the last thing I would say here is, if you can, which you absolutely can do this, and I would highly recommend it, create a bigger context for yourself now and your business. So what I mean by that is, how does this baby now fit in and make your business and your brand and your mission even more powerful? Because we don't want the two to compete, right? We don't want your sweet baby or your babies competing with the other love of your life, which is your business. That's not good. How can they coexist together and make each better, right? And support each other. So what I mean by that is, your business supports you as a mom and your babies, because obviously it brings in money, because it brings in it allows you to, it gives you an outlet to create. So you're happier and you're more fulfilled. So it supports your babies in that way too. How does your baby support your business and your brand? So for me, when I had Cruz, my context for my business got so much bigger, because now I'm a mom. And I can relate to other moms, and I want to show other moms how they can do this as I navigate these seasons as a new mom, and then a more seasoned mom, and then a new mom again, and then a mom is this and a mom is that. What am I learning and then supporting other women do? It just made my why so much bigger once I had babies. And I added that, I started infusing that into my content, and I started sharing when I'm having a bad day with the boys, or when I'm feeling frustrated, when I'm having a great day with the boys, and when I finally figure it out and we find a good mix, and it all gets to work together. So I would start really reflecting on what's the new mission for you now? What's the new why of why both get to work, why you get to be the type of mom and the most amazing mom that you get to be, and the level of business owner that you also get to be. We can have both, but we've got to decide what that looks like and then have the audacity to go for it at the same time. And you will make it happen without a doubt in my mind. It may not be easy and it may not be overnight, but you absolutely will make it happen if you do those things. Okay. And then finally, the last question, she asked what my process for manifesting is after I have decided that I want a specific thing, like a car or a money goal. Those are the examples that she gave. So the first thing that I would say is go listen to the episode that went out on January 22nd. This is the episode when the results aren't resulting episode, because I share, the manifesting equation is ask, believe, receive, but I get into all of those and I share where I think a lot of people go wrong. Like if you've decided that you wanted something and it's not happening, I share from the lens of like, this is probably why it's not happening. So that episode's going to be really, really helpful for you. Now I'm going to talk about it from the lens of once I get a brand new desire, what is it that I do? Because I do have a process for this. So the very first thing that I do, let's say I have a new money goal. Okay. Let's say I want to start making, I don't know, let's say like 150K months. Okay. That's my new money goal. That's what I'm going for. So the very first thing that I would do is I would make sure that I don't have this number on a pedestal. What this means is that I've over glamorized this number in my mind. I think that like, if only I was making this amount, then I would be this type of business owner, or I would be happy if I was just earning $150,000 a month, or, like when I think the best way to say is over glamorize it, right? We make it this thing that feels big for us. Now, this sounds silly because when you're talking about really big things, like it's a big thing because you haven't done it yet. But if in your mind, it's this over glamorized thing, right? Then you're naturally creating this energy that you are apart from it. Otherwise, it wouldn't feel like a big thing. Now, this doesn't mean that we can't appreciate the bigness of it. This doesn't mean that if we ever create it or we get close to it, that we can't appreciate the fact that we made it happen. This also doesn't mean that we can't appreciate where we are now, but we want to take it off the proverbial pedestal. How are we glamorizing this thing in such a way that we are keeping it within arm's distance of us, that we're saying, I am not the type of person who can have this yet, because if I was, then I would be so much better. I'd be so much whatever. Or, oh my gosh, can you imagine if I hit that? Holy crap. That's what so-and-so does. I can't even believe, like, I can't even in my head go there and think and imagine that this is possible for me. You got it on a pedestal. Take it off, right? I'm not the type of person to do that. I've never done that before. I'm not the type of person. You see a lot of people do this with like relationships, I'm unlucky with love. I'm not meant to have that type of relationship. It's like, okay, why do you have a healthy relationship on a pedestal? That's silly. Like you can want it, but like there's nothing to glamorize about that. Like it should be a standard for you. I think that's a really good way to say it. It's a new standard. Oh, that's a really good way to say it. Okay. I've been doing this. I've been creating like kind of shitty relationships. I've been accepting these things into my life because I realized that my standards were a little low. I needed to build my boundaries a little bit. And, because I wasn't doing that, I've been creating this level and I've been accepting this level of results. But now I have a higher standard. My new standard, my new normal is this thing, this type of relationship. My new standard, my new normal in my business is $150,000 months. That or nothing, like nothing else will do. And if less comes, that's okay. I'm not going to turn it away, but I'm also not going to settle for it. I'm not going to, right? So this is obviously different in relationships and business. So if I'm going for $150,000 months and I make 100, I'm not going to say that that's just ridiculous. That won't do. That just like send it back. It's not 150, right? I would say that's freaking amazing. And we're going to go for 150 next month because that's my new standard. Like, I'm so proud of myself, and I'm so incredibly grateful for what I've created this month in my business. And I'm still going for this new standard because that's the new standard. Because why wouldn't I? Of course, it's just a matter of time until I create it. So why would I stop trying to create it or stop going for it? Now, in a relationship, this isn't a relationship podcast, but if you have a new standard for relationships and you're getting something else, right? Like if you're dating and you want to stop messing with messy guys, then when a messy dude comes to the situation and you have a new standard, we're not going to play with that. No, we don't have time for that. We're going to return to sender, right? Like, no, thank you. Thanks, but no thanks. Keep it moving. We're not gonna be like, thank God. Well, at least you came. Thank you. Thank you for being here. Let's go on a date. Let's spend time together. I'll date you. I guess you're here. So I need to have gratitude for you. No, you don't. Return to sender. So obviously there's nuances depending on what we're talking about here is what I'm trying to say. Take it off the pedestal. That's step number one. Step number two is to appreciate what I have now. So what we don't want to do, and a very common mistake, is to set a new standard, but then anything less than that is not exceptional or not, we just lose appreciation for it. Okay. So like in our businesses, that money example is the perfect example for that. I can go for $150,000 months. And if I get 120, I'm not going to sit here and cry about it. Right. And I'm going to feel, I could feel disappointed. Like if I was going, there was like a big, very specific launch or something, but I'm not going to not have deep gratitude and appreciation for what I have now, because anything less than that you attract the energy that you put out, right? So we want to feel grateful for any money that's flowing into our lives because that's going to continue the flow of it. And we can still have at the same time standards and be excited. And we go very deep into this vibe in the January 22nd episode when the results aren't resulting. And then the very last thing that I do is I allow myself to feel into, if I had the thing that I'm wanting, the thing that I'm calling in next, how would I feel? How would I feel about myself? How would I feel about what it is that I'm doing? How would I feel? How would I go about my day? Maybe there's very specific actions that I would be taking that I could take right now to be a match for that, right? But this is just across the board. This is just like your everyday life. Like, how would you play with your kids if you knew that you just had $150,000 a month? Like for me, I would be so joyful and I feel like I'd be more present because I wouldn't have to stress about, oh, I need to go and I need to make another post, or I need to come up with another offer, or I need to like check, did that sale come in? Did that payment come in? I'd be so ecstatic and thankful. And I would just want to like go and play with my kids because I'd have nothing to worry about, or at least that's how I feel, Like get clear on just like the mundane everyday things, because you as a person who isn't generating money in her business, and you as a person who's generating multi-millions in your business, still eat, still play with your kids, still speak to your partner, still get ready for the day, still get in the car and drive places. There's things that you're going to be doing no matter what level of business you're at. So allow yourself to feel into, how would you feel if that was your situation now? And how can you feel more like that now? So it tells me a lot if I'm like, I'd be more present with my kids. Then I better go be more present with my kids now. The hell? Why am I not being present with my kids right now? That's clearly like keeping me, I'm not a match for that thing. I'm not being as present as I would be with that thing. This is going to tell you a lot. It's really, really powerful work. Okay. So that's all that we have today. I hope these were helpful for you. If so, I would love if you took a screenshot and shared and tagged me in your stories. You could tag me at Allie I. Reeves or at All In Podcast or The Podcast. I can't remember what my handle is. It's on my personal page. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed this. If you are ready to shake it up a little bit, and if you're ready to create the vibe and the business and the next iteration of yourself that matches how you feel within and what you want to call in next in your life, I hope you will join us in Reinvention. I am teaching it live on February 9th, which is the new moon, which is the perfect time. Apparently it's new moon in Aquarius, which is the perfect time for reinvention, which is really cool. So you can join us live, or of course you can get the recording, and we'll link all that in the show notes. But that's all that I have for now. I love you, and I will see you here next week. Bye.